We can start, inshallah. Sister Nayar, are we fine using this? It doesn't hurt our classrooms? It should be fine? Okay, alhamdulillah. Okay, great. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم يا ربنا يا رحمن يا رحيم وفقنا لما تحب وترضى من الأقوال والأفعال. اللهم إنا نحتسب هذه الجلسة فيما تحب وترضى، نحتسب يا الله أوقاتنا ونحتسب يا ربنا جهدنا لترضى عنا، فاللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. So today, inshallah, I would love to continue about something that I have started last time when we met here for the workshop, and I would like to focus on some of the practical ways that we can use, inshallah, with our kids to protect them from the devices and from the internet in general, and anything that really comes from this new technology that we have seen. Maybe before I talk about this, I think it might be very important for us to just refresh our minds on where we are heading and what is the current status in terms of our children being influenced and persuaded by those devices and social media, internet, generative AI, and on all the other stuff. There has been multiple research about the influence on children using those, for example, using the social media. And one of the research area, or one of the research topics, is actually the impact on the kids, on their mental ability to sustain as a human, to continue with their with their talents, and also their emotions, and how this impacts their behavior in front of the public. Some of the some of the negative things that we see, and we shouldn't really say always that it is purely negative. There are some positive things that we're getting from social media, but I think we need to focus on the negative things, because that's what we want to rectify and correct, inshallah. One of the very bad things that we are getting with our children through using that social media was actually isolation. So our kids are becoming more isolated from the exterior world, from their outside family, and even from their own family. So within the family, you see that each of your kid might be taking their devices and spending lots of hours on them, and they're not willing to play together. They're not willing to do any physical activities together, or maybe to go for a walk, or maybe do some other games that really get them engaged with others. And that isolation is happening for the most part because, subhanallah, the kids have started to see a lot of engagement in those social media that they cannot see otherwise in outside of the social media. But at the same time, it's because also in social media they are able to focus on things that they can impress others and avoid things that others may see as a negative thing. In other words, when I'm meeting with you, you probably can see me, you can see my face, you can see my head, you can see how I'm moving my hand, you can see how I'm uttering, how I'm speaking to you, maybe the type of language I use, maybe how, everything, right? And then, of course, for me, I'm the person who I am. I don't care. Maybe you like something, you dislike something else. I don't care. This is how life is. Unfortunately, in the social media, it doesn't go that way. It goes as, I just want to show things that would impress others, and I will hide other things that are are not going to be as positive. And subhanAllah, through using those social media, kids have managed to really hide things that they dislike and expose things that they like. And that's why, subhanAllah, for them it is very difficult to get outside of the social media, because otherwise they will be exposed. Things that they were trying to hide will become now clearly in front of the public, and they are no more able to protect themselves from that thing. So, so that isolation comes actually with another negative issue, which is actually hypocrisy. Or having like more than one face in front of the people, having more than one identity in front of others. People are trying to act differently based on the social media that they are using. So, for example, you have a WhatsApp group with your family, right? But you have also what is it called? Discord, I think. It's called Discord, the instant messaging. So you have a Discord with your friend. The language that you use in that WhatsApp group with the family is very different from the language you use in Discord. Because in Discord, there's the F word, the S word, all type of bad words there, and then all type of images and whatnot. But in the family group, you behave yourself. And subhanAllah, this way, first of all, when that child gets out of their home and the child is walking with his mother, hijabi mother, or with his Muslim practicing father, and then those kids who he had with a lot of a chat that goes very, very bad, then he will be embarrassed. Like, what? And similarly, if he is with his friends, and then one of his parents pop up for them, they will be very embarrassed, because they will be seen on a different face or in a different style than what they usually appear in front. And that's what makes them very isolated, because they want to always be in their comfortable zone, and that comfortable zone is very different from how they shape or behave themselves in front of the public. And of course, again, this comes with nifaq, because now they are used to show something and hide something else, and then they switch the role depending on the people that they are working with. Now, those two things are actually just two examples of things that are happening because of the social media, and they are destroying our kids, wallahi, big time, to the extent that we just cannot expect from them leaders to happen in the future, because everything that they worry about is how they can impress others through things that might be superficial or maybe partially true. So those are just two examples. Let me give a third example, which is actually, subhanAllah, the love of becoming popular or celebrity is actually driving our kids to do anything nasty, anything abnormal, so that they get as many attention as possible. And that's what we call in Arabic tafaha. Tafaha is doing any nonsense to get the attention of others. And I think everyone who has access to TikTok in particular, I was so happy that they stopped it, but now they got it back with a new Trump administration. So may Allah protect us from those. But anyways, TikTok, if you if you look at what youth are offering there, for the most part, they are offering episodes or shorts that are showing how crazy, insane they are. And they don't really mind. What they care the most about is how they can make more people to watch this, because the more number or the higher number that they see as watch is represent the more popular they are, and sometimes it also represents some monetary value that they get, because for every 1,000 I think they get $1 I don't know, depending on the platform, but then, you know, the more they get, the more followers or the more viewers they get, then they get more, because every time their episodes get viewed, they can run an advertisement. So the social media is actually getting paid by the companies to advertise, and then they share that they share that profit with the with the contributors on the social media. So in other words, the love of becoming a celebrity, regardless of how bad the path to become a celebrity is another pattern, and it's becoming very bad. And that's why in many cases you see your child, you just cannot believe this is the one I spent several years upbringing to the best characters and manners, and all of a sudden this kid is becoming, wal'ayadhu billah, like a dummy, like I mean, like an insane person in almost every aspect. And that's only what you see. That's only what you discover. There are many things that have happened behind the scene. I want to tell you that about 4 years ago, one parent who was, mashallah, very, mashallah, religious, very practicing, very technical, very educated, came to me with a photo of his son. His son was Hafiz al-Quran. He was first year college. And his son, he did everything possible to raise him as a good son. The photo that he showed me, it was his son's, image that he did. He took photo of himself. He applied some Photoshop to take the hair from a girl and do some makeup on his face, and he put them together, and with some technology, I think he used some application that was very recent at that point in time, that image became exactly like a woman. And he was spreading that to all of his friends. 4 years ago, this was not very common. So whoever does this would be able to impress their peers. So the man was crying. He was like, can you imagine that my child wants to change his sex or gender from male to female? And I said, I mean, at the beginning, at the first glance, I thought maybe he really does want to do this. So he asked me to talk to the child, to his first year college son. So I did talk to him. I said, Habibi, what do you think about this? He said, I was just making fun. I just wanted my peers to laugh at it. And this was the best way and easiest way to do it. That's again what we call it tafaha, like nonsense. Do any nonsense, but get as many followers and viewers as possible. Things now are becoming much more horrible. Like the level that they went down to is wal'ayadhu billah, sometimes it's kufr. But they don't mind. They don't care, because actually what they believe in is not the kufr. It's not really the implication of what they're doing. But they are just trying to do something that really shows or gets the curiosity of others to watch them and view their episodes. So that's another thing that we are facing with our kids. Now, let me just get one last example, and then the reason of this is just so we understand to what extent those modern applications and modern technologies are causing damages to our children. One last example, although there are plenty of examples that we cannot just cover in one workshop, is actually the amount of deviation that they are having in their own aqidah. Like, for example, in today's time, in all their social media, the thing that they always most frequently would talk about is things that have assume there's no God. There is no creator of this universe. Almost everything that they say, because now it's all global, and the thing that really can unite everyone is if they all assume there's no God. Because if Muslims say Allah is God, and the Christians say Jesus is God, and then the Hindu say whatever their God, I don't know what it is, and then the Buddhist, and then everyone will do, they just cannot work together. So that the easiest way that they have found so that it can, work with everyone was to assume there's no God. Khalas. It is atheism or agnosticism in its most recent definition. And that is killing us. You know why? Because those kids, when they spend their many hours every day with no sense of akhirah, no sense of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when they come to pray, that prayer means nothing to them. When you try to remind them with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and make them or push them to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they would never even share that thought with you. They would never be able to comprehend the majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or their due respect that they have to give to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a Lord. Because in their minds, they are living in a totally different world than us. And that is actually, in my mind, is the worst thing that they are getting. Now, you may tell me about challenges that they do, that some kids unfortunately are suiciding themselves because of them. You may tell me about the spread of drugs and whatnot, and of course all the immorality, all the sexual acts and whatnot. All of these are there, unfortunately, and many of our kids are engaging in that. Actually, one of the latest survey that they have done for Muslim kids at university. They did a blind survey. A blind survey means that everyone will do the survey without mentioning anything that can correlate that survey with the person who did it. So they found out that it's close to 90% of our kids who have committed a premarital sex. They have found that, and those are the ones who actually disclosed what they did. There are others who probably will be secret about it. There are more than 65% of kids who have been trying drugs and alcohol. And you name it, subhanAllah. And many of them, actually close to 95% of them, who were missing at least partially their prayers. So we're not talking about people who abandon prayers at all, but we're talking about kids who are willing, who are fine with missing one or two prayers from time to time. And subhanAllah, when you see such surveys, you get so scared. A'udhu billah, where are we moving? Like I do believe that most of the masajid that we have nowadays in America are because of the barakah of the elders. Wallahi. The barakah of those elders who came from Pakistan, from India, from maybe Syria, from Egypt, and they came with a totally different type of upbringing, and the love of Allah and love of Messenger. They built those masajid. But then who are going to occupy those masajid? If any, there will be this generation who has been grown up with the social media, with the new technology that has actually taken them so far from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and has made them so isolated, has made them to behave their life in a very different way. So with that said, I think one of the most important things before we do any act is to understand and realize the impact of the problem, understand the problem statement, so that when we act upon it, we have the passion and we have the strength, and we have, inshallah, the determination and dedication to work around it. So that's why I tried to spend this much of time. I did not mention many things, like now we have the things called virtual reality, augmented reality, and you name all those different new technologies that have appeared. ChatGPT, or new generation, the new generation artificial intelligence, and I mean, those are even taking us to a different level of walayadu billah, going astray and go to a level of disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so before I go to like the practical steps, inshallah, I just want to see if there's any comment, any suggestion, any question. Inshallah, we can then start with the steps. No, I need participation, please. Yes, Habibi.
It's very concerning and sad to hear. I always wonder how at Masjid in the US, who are the people who are fueling the iman in the Masjid. I know we'll go into the solutions, but just thinking that you think, and so also I, in my own personal space, I'm not comparing us to people, that it is just the parents who provide to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and go to Jannah are populating the Masjid, and the Masjid are really missing the next generation. Even though we do see kids coming in, it's a very pathetic situation. I wish it was not so, but the reality is different.
Yeah.
It's just a comment rather than...
Yeah, Allah Yazzik al-Khair. And it's very true that in many cases, neither the parents nor the masjid are doing a good job. See, I truly love this triangle that many of our now Muslim psychologists are talking about. There's a triangle that is mandatory for any Islamic upbringing for our children in North America. The triangle has, of course, 3 angles. One is parents, so what the kids are getting from their parents. The second one is the masjid, and the third one is school. So in most of the Muslim families are sending their kids to public school. So you just can't drop this. Unfortunately, most of the Muslim families do not go regularly to the masjid. So you can drop the other one. The very sad news is that even most of the time parents are so busy with work and other things that they have to do, to work on, and so that they are not really giving much to their kids. So you can drop the third one. So what is left? Khalas. This is it. This is life. This is what we have. And I still remember, subhanAllah, when I first came to the States, 1997, I met with Sheikh Muhammad al-Sharif, who started the Maghrib Institute. So we were together in Maryland, College Park. Very, very great friends of mine, and subhanAllah, he was very energetic, and he just came from Medina. We are almost similar age. He just came from Medina to Maryland, and I came from also Saudi Arabia, and we met there. We worked together at the same place, and then so we were giving khutbahs and whatnot. So one of the khutbahs that he gave was Third Parent. The title was Third Parent, and for me that was a big shock. At Third Parent he meant TV, right? So he said that the TV is the third parent of our children, because most of the time people will leave the TV on and the kids are going back and forth, and all what they see is TV. They go between channels, and that gives them even more time than what they spend with their own parents. So at that time I was like, Ya Allah, that's true, wallahi, that's true. And I thought maybe we should, inshallah, do something about it. only to find out that it becomes worse and worse every time. Because at that point in time, the only thing that we had in the internet was maybe few websites that you can go to and email. And then they started to have like websites that have porns and whatnot. And then they started to have those social media. And then they started to have this virtual reality. And then next generation, what is it called? The AI, generative AI, and all those different things. And I don't know. I mean, not only that we're going so low, but also those type of mashayikh who have vision and who are trying to work very, very hard to compete with the challenges, we're losing them. He passed away, rahimahullah, in Dubai. I mean, many of the today's time du'at are not that much of knowledgeable, not that much of energetic, not as much of sincere. And so it's getting worse on both sides. I mean, we don't have, we're going so low and so bad in terms of the challenges that we're going through, and we're not finding support, neither spiritual, nor through parents, nor through society. It's going so bad. And that's why, I mean, it's for all of us, this is a huge warning. This is a game changer for all of us. Alhamdulillah that our elders, our uncles, I would call them, although our new generation now do not like our uncles because they say they are fresh out of the boat and they are not nice to speak with, they don't speak our mind and whatnot, but wallahi, we are living under the mercy of our uncles, those who came early. And they insisted everywhere they live, they must have a masjid. That's why the barakah is still there. But what happens after those elders go away? Allahu A'lam. It's very challenging. And of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there, but we have to be also practical. Any question, any comment, any addition? Yeah, that's a very good question, Jazakallah khair. So the question is, how do you compare the impact of this new technology here versus our back home countries, correct? Okay, I can tell you with full confidence that the impact of this new technology on our back home countries is worse than here. Much worse. Much worse. Because when hypocrisy happens in Mecca or in Medina, it's very bad. It's very, very bad. Just yesterday, there was a news and that Saudi Arabia, they caught a person in Mecca, in the city of Mecca, who pulled his brother to a place, like a far place, within the city of Mecca that where no one was there. He pretended like he want to treat him and only to apply what he have been seeing in all those violence and whatnot, and he cut him into pieces with a knife. He killed him, he slaughtered him with a knife. This is in Mecca, Habibi, in Mecca al-Mukarramah. So the influence, akhi, that we have is very bad. And I myself, I have some friends that I met with them in Saudi Arabia, and now they are no more believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you have grown up learning fiqh, tawheed, aqidah, and all that stuff, and then become, wal'ayadhu billah, atheist or agnostic, whatever you want to call it, that is much worse than a person who never heard about it in the first place. Because the one who never heard about it in the first place, there is still a chance you may call him and inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give him hidayah. But those people are, well, not coming to a point where they hate the religion now. Hate the religion. Yeah, so, no, what we have seen as an impact of this new technology and the lack of awareness, the lack of guidance, the lack of good, straight, sincere mashayikh and ulama and scholar and du'at is way more horrible in the Muslim country than here. Way more. So I don't believe that in today's time there's any person who does not know about the bad things that happen on the internet and happen on those new technology devices and apps and whatnot. However, unfortunately, there are still people who think that with the very, very, very old way of making da'wah, they can work with the children who are facing this new challenge. Like, okay, I don't want to go into this area because it's very sensitive and I know some people may be offended, but let me just throw this example. Imagine your kid going to public school. Every friend of your son is showing your son some apps. Some of them are fun, maybe some videos, some cartoon, some haram, some challenges, some games, whatever it is. Very exciting. And on top of all of that, all those 3-minute shorts, which is very, what is the word here? Very, it's addictive, and it is also, what is engaging? But is they use a word in psychology. It's called. It will come inshallah later, but it's really very engaging. I mean, I saw one sheikh, not regular, not a youth, a sheikh, a big, an elder sheikh, real sheikh. He was, you go on this shorts and you do like this, right? Every short comes, and then if you don't like it, you just skip it. If you like it, you watch it until the end. And it's because of how addictive it is. That sheikh, when I met with him, he was flipping between these, and I asked him, Sheikh, what are you doing? He said, Astaghfirullah. He made like this. I said, what happened? He said, guess how long I have spent on this? 2 hours, and I could not even feel myself. So what I'm saying is that imagine your son is going through all this challenge, and then you bring him to the masjid after Salat al-Asr, and you ask him to memorize Quran in front of the sheikh. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر إنا أنزلناه في and he would continue doing this, moving back and forth, repeating the same sentence, which he does not understand the meaning of it. And in his mind, it's all what he has seen from his friends. And he knows that they are enjoying their time. After school, they have a lot of fun to do. And he comes to the masjid, and 3 hours only to memorize things that he does not understand. What do you think? What are you bringing up out of this? Imams, leaders, builders? Nothing. And when I said this in some masajid, they got so mad at me. They were so offended. They were like, okay, you're accusing those Quran hafidh programs of not being productive. And I say, wallahi, they are not productive. Wallahi, they are actually going against our children. They are pushing them away from Quran because we're not giving them any incentive. All what we're telling them, oh, be hafiz al-Quran, Allah will give you reward. Until that child becomes hafiz al-Quran, it's a long path that they will give up everything and they will hate Quran. They will hate everything that reminds them with Quran. And that's why in today's time, we have so many hafiz. Look at their acts, look at their behavior. Nothing related to Islam. But when they recite Quran and they lead prayers, MashaAllah, what a beautiful voice. But nothing. You get nothing out of that. And that is worse than even not knowing Quran in the first place. I would love to take a full session about this, inshallah. And I'm working now with, alhamdulillah. I mean, I feel one of the things I'm very happy about at MasjidAlSalam is that there is some good, positive, alhamdulillah, reception of those issues and pains that we have. And alhamdulillah, I see very positive interaction, which is very promising in my mind. So inshallah, I'm working with the administration and with other mashayikh and across ISGH to come up with something that inshallah at least will mitigate, not really to cure, but mitigate the impact of what we're seeing, and at the same time provide something that inshallah will be very beneficial and fruitful to our kids in the future. So inshallah we'll get that into another topic. So let me start now. Yes? You're absolutely correct, Habibi. I'm not negating that in any way. Of course, when you bring them here, at least you're preventing them from going the haram way. Of course, no. I'm not saying anything wrong about this. But what I'm trying to say is, don't expect that with this circumstance and with this environment that our kids have at their public school, that if you bring them to the masjid to make hafidh, that you're making them Muslim leaders. Don't expect that. That's what I'm saying. But of course, akhi, I'm willing to kiss the hand of the parents who bring their kids to the hafidh school. Because they, alhamdulillah, they're doing their kids a big favor. At least they are protecting them from watching the online haram on their own at home, or to just spending their time with the devices doing all the haram. Of course. Thank you for reminding me. Otherwise, people may misunderstand me. Jazakallah khair. But what I'm trying to say is that people got offended when I said this because they thought I'm saying that what you're doing is not productive, and I do mean that. It is not productive. It is less harmful than letting the kids spend their time with the devices. It's less harmful, of course, but it is not productive. It's not giving them what they need to become a leader or to become a true Muslim. It's not. Yes, Habib.
You have to go there. You mentioned that you may have another session about maybe the Quran classes in the Masjid.
Yes, inshallah. Inshallah.
Can you give us a 1-minute summary, Sheikh? All of the ahadith, and so many, alif is not a letter, lam is not a letter, but every, alif, lam is not a letter.
Yeah.
All of the ahadith and all of the exhortations that give the barakah of Quran, I realize that the real crux of Quran is the hidayah.
Right.
That is the main objective with which you
Right.
So hifz is down on the totem pole of the hukuk of al-Quran.
Right.
Okay. So, but even if someone makes hifz or partial hifz, would it not have some barakah in his life? Would it not incur Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy to prevent him from something, some harm, guide him towards some good? Or are we just...
No, and again, just like how I answered the brother here, that there is, of course there's a barakah. Ya akhi, let it be nothing but having a good company. Let it be nothing but hearing the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let it be nothing but seeing the shaykh in front of you. All of this is barakah, of course, of course. But I'm asking a very genuine question. I'm asking, is that going to build for us a true Muslim leader? No way! Is this going to make them understand Quran and implement it in their life? In no way!
Their personal life of that specific kid was good. I believe, I think maybe the answer is, if we see him at a certain level in his life, that is with the barakah of Quran. And if he didn't have it, he would not have even that much goodness. And
Yeah,
maybe a lot of
yeah,
fulfill
yeah,
that he
yeah,
have,
yeah,
he may have had more.
yeah,
Because he went through the Quranic school in his childhood, Quran probably, through the Quran, Allah Subhanahu prevented him from more filth than that has already been inflicted on him.
right,
On him and his
right,
life.
right, right, right. Allah Jazak al khair. Anything, sisters? Huh? Nothing. Okay.
So real challenge here is, just to summarize this, the dopamine kick that a TikTok or shorts or Insta would give. How can we compete with that when you present something of substance to a kid? Because because right now you can easily see that it's very difficult to have a kid sit at one place and just concentrate on something for maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Their mind cannot comprehend to be
Mm.
concentrate on something for more than
Yeah,
5 seconds.
yeah,
They
yeah,
are so used to just skipping it.
yeah, yeah.
So that's
Absolutely.
the challenge.
Absolutely.
Something that is of substance requires focus.
And so that's actually in general, let alone if the content is so bad, right? Which is pushing them into haram and haram and haram. So losing attention, losing the ability of, spending perseverance and seeking knowledge and whatnot is 100% gonna happen with all those things. But in addition, they are unfortunately moving them into atheism, agnosticism. They're moving them into immorality. They're moving them into being, silly and being with no value and all that. Okay, so what should we do? So I think one of the things that we need to be very, very strict at is to how we can set rules at home about using devices. I think I did say it before that in no way I do believe that we can prevent our kids from using devices or from using apps or from using the internet. There's no way. It's a hopeless case. Khalas. The whole world is going that direction. So we need to really think about more creative ways of how we can coexist with that, but at the same time preserve our religion. So one of the most important things is actually how can we be practical and wise in setting the rules about using any of this technology at home and outside of home. So for example, what is the age at which we can allow our kids to have their own personal devices? What is the age at which we allow them to open new social media accounts with their names? What is the age, how do we control the number of hours they spend on these devices, on those applications? What is it, the content that we allow them to go through? Who are the friends that they can hang with when they add friends to their social media? And so on and so forth. Those rules have to be very well studied in such a way that first we are protecting them from displeasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and at the same time we're providing them a practical way to live their lives without feeling that they just want to find a time to escape from their parents. I did mention maybe in previous times some of the nice ways of setting rules that I have seen. And by the way, this applies to Muslims and non-Muslims. So this is an issue for everyone. And I did one time, I had a discussion with non-Muslims at work who were talking about like I worked on social media. I used to be when I worked for Microsoft, I was part of my job was on social media security and privacy. And when we talk about privacy, it's a horrible another tangent that we probably can spend days to talk about, and how bad it is that unfortunately many of our kids are not realizing. Okay, maybe I can take this tangent and come back. Are you aware of an act called the right to be forgotten? Anyone heard this act? So this act has started in Europe, and I do believe that it started not very recent, but also not very far, where it started by someone who made a law case against some of the social media vendor that that he placed a video of himself or her, I think it was a guy, doing something silly, and then he posted it on the internet, and then he then regretted that, and it caused him some harm in his future employment. So now he asked the social media, he was like, I want you to turn it down and just delete it from everywhere. And of course, when something goes to the internet, khalas, forget it. Because it's not only where you have placed it, because there are so many different companies that do archive of the internet. So let's say, for example, you have placed a video on YouTube. It's not only on YouTube. I mean, people may download it, they may have it on their devices. There are other companies may do the archive and they take a snapshot of it. I mean, there are plenty of places, other places that you just cannot get in control of where they are going, right? So then they started something called the right to be forgotten. And this has started in Europe. Now, every company, every American company who wants to sell to Europe, they have to adhere to this. But it's not really implemented in the way that it should be. But anyways, what it says is that you have to contain anything that they post, and then you have to make sure that at any point in time, if the subject, if that person says, I don't want this to be there and he brings you some court order, then you should be able to delete it entirely from your system. And they go to court for that, and it's a big thing. So what I'm trying to say here is that unfortunately our kids are not knowing or are not able to understand that their silly videos that they are taking for themselves because they wanted to get more views may hurt them in the future. So when we set age-appropriate platforms, when we talk about time limits, when we talk about no devices in the bedroom, no devices in the bathrooms, those are all rules that has to be very strictly followed. By the way, many of our kids, we don't have kids here, so many of our kids go to the bathroom and they play those to do masturbation. That's what they do. And unfortunately, they don't even know that they have to make ghusl after that. And they just continue with their life and they pray multiple times, and they don't know that their prayer is invalid because they don't even have tahara on them. So, and by the way, masturbation is the least risky thing that they will do, wallahi. I mean, let alone the zina itself, fornication or doing, very nasty stuff, and even homosexuality that is happening because of these things. So one of the very a practical way that I have seen some families have doing it is that they place all the devices in one room, which is actually open to the rest of the house, and the monitors can only face one direction, which is clear to everyone. And they tell their kids, the only place you can use the internet or social media or whatever is there. That's it. That's your space. And the parents themselves, from time to time, they just walk back and forth. Of course, they always see some flipping of the of the app. You know, they are very productive, mashallah. Those kids, they with the hit of two buttons, they can change the screen to another one, or they can swap between one to an application to another application. But at least it minimizes the chances that they may go very deep into haram. I mean, yes, do it, khalas. I mean, we have to face reality. There is no way that we can protect them from everything. So let's at least mitigate the impact to the best of our ability. So that's number one. Number two is really putting a time. And one of the also practical ways of doing this is to tell them, you know, when you want to study, you come back from school, let's say, for example, you start working on your assignments and whatnot 4 p.m. So you have from 4 to 7, that's it. You don't have any more time. So use your time wisely, and those devices have to be used only solely for this. If they try to hide and do something else, then you can tell that they were not able to do their homework, they can tell through their grades, and whatever other technologies that you want. A third one is actually parenting control. I mean, everyone would say about parenting control, but guess what? Parenting control is as good as perhaps maybe 1 month, but then after that, those are so smart that they can get you another software that goes around the parent control, and they can use proxies, they can use, I don't know if I should use those terminologies, but they are so smart in escaping this. I want to tell you one example that I saw myself. You know, this is iPhone, right? So you know, every square here is an application, right? You know, there's an application called Calculator. You see that? Very, very well known, right? At one school, high school or middle school, and this has happened maybe 2 or 3 years ago. They created an app at school to exchange their nude photos, the kids. And they made the icon looks like the calculator. Aywallah. And some Muslims were engaged in this. And the challenge was, show us your best nude picture. And everyone was participating, including Muslim girls. Under what? Calculator app. So putting a parental control may help, because some of those parental control, I mean, there are many different companies that offer that. Some of them, they go very deep into the content. Some of them are more of policy-based, and so on. I mean, but don't think that it is always effective. Most of the time, they can skip it. And I can tell you, I worked with the school board in Maryland. They have, they give students devices, Chrome. You know Chrome? Chrome is very common now to be shared with the students from the school. And on that Chromebook, they have certain software that blocks them from using the Chromebook to go to websites that have games, or to do porn, or any of that stuff. And my son happened to have one of them, and he showed me, I don't know, it was his mistake, or I don't know what happened. He said, "Baba, do you know about this application?" I said, "What application?" First time to hear about it. He said, yeah, they told me about it, I downloaded it, and now I have no restriction whatsoever. I can do anything. I was like, okay, could you please tell your school board about this? could you tell your school advisor about this? I don't know if he did, but I mean, the issue here is that any technology could have a counter technology, and those kids are so smart. Not that they create it, but there are even malicious people who are just creating them the counter technology and make it available for them, and those kids are able to get it and use it. So what that really means is that as a parent, I really need to have a full access to their phones. And frankly speaking, one of the advices I give to everyone is that We should teach those kids that you don't have a secret on your phone. You should not. The kids have to understand that until they become for maybe 18 years old, until they become really mature, they should not expect that they can keep a secret on the phone from their parents. I treated my children in this way. I told them, listen, I can give you a cell phone. I can buy you a cell phone, but you have to be ready at any point in time that I say, Dad, come here, bring me your phone and I can check it. If you are able to do this at any point in time, then it's yours. You can have it. So, and I felt, of course, I couldn't do it every time, and maybe between each time and the next one, maybe a month or 2 months, but I do it all of a sudden. And I still remember one time one of my daughters has said, I'm so grateful to Allah that my dad is cleaning my phone from time to time. Because otherwise, it goes very gradually incrementing, where they add some certain app, go to certain websites, do something on their own social media, and then subhanallah, every time they compromise more and more and more until it becomes a one-way ticket. They cannot go back to where they should be. Okay, let me pause here. How about, yes, go ahead. Yeah. So that's what I would like to emphasize, that these rules have to come from at an early age, from the very first experience with the devices. And they have to be there until they become mature. If you allow them to use devices, and then after a year you tell them there are new rules, they will. That's what they will say. You don't trust me? And by the way, about this, you don't trust me, I still remember we went to a family, alhamdulillah, not in Houston. We went one time to visit a family in Ramadan. They invited us, jazakumullah khair, for breakfast in Ramadan, and subhanallah, we haven't even started. We did pray Salat al-Maghrib, and we haven't started to eat. And I just got the surprising call from my wife. She said, Abdurrahman, we have to leave now. I said, what? We haven't even started to eat. She said, I will talk to you. Please, let us just go away now. So we went out, and I was very surprised and concerned. And then it happened that, subhanallah, unfortunately, one of the kids who came to this family has brought with them, she was a girl, she has brought her device, and she started to show the girls in the room for girls her boyfriends, friends, not one, many boyfriends at school. And she was like, who do you like the most? And so my daughter and 2 other daughters have talked to their parents. And then, of course, we didn't like to cause a big fitna and whatnot. We just left. And then we talked to some of the parents who were engaged, and subhanAllah, they were so surprised. Like, how could this ever happen to us? Wallahi, I swear by Allah that I know the parents, and they're much better than us. Much better. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects your children for some time, it doesn't mean that they will necessarily be always pious in that, and they will not face those issues. So anyways, what I'm trying to say is, putting rules and control over how they use it, how long, where, when, the type of control, the parental control that they have, and then frequently watching what they have in their devices is very crucial. I know many people will resist, many people will say, no, I trust my children, they are very good. Okay, wait until you see some very bad thing, and then you will realize that you did a mistake. Yes, yes, we can. Sure, inshallah. Let's go for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, inshallah. I'll be here, inshallah. Allah yazikum al-khair. Ya Rab. Assalamu alaikum. طيب السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن We have another 30 minutes inshallah, so let's move as fast as possible. I did mention a couple of mechanisms, including the parental control, changing parental control from time to time, so that if they manage to break the one, then they will have to go through the second one, and then it makes it more challenging to them. Of course, we cannot stop it entirely, but at least we mitigate it. We talked about limiting the time, and of course, limiting the time on the laptop is easier than limiting the time on the cell phone. Some of the techniques that parents are using on the cell phone is to watch the usage information, like how long they have been using this for a day and what applications. And I think most of us know how to do this. But even with that, I think there are ways to skip that monitoring. So kids may go around it. One of the things that perhaps also is useful on the devices is to limit their access to the devices through the battery lifetime. So for example, you only have one charging station or cable that you give them at the beginning of the day. And you tell them you may use the phone as long as there is a battery. Once the battery is off, then I will not charge it for you again until next day. So that could be one thing. Another thing would be to shut off the internet at the house. So for example, you have your internet hub, and then you unswitch or you unplug the internet cable for the entire time that you don't want them to use it. So for example, we do this at home most of the time. We give them access to the internet only between 8 a.m. or from after Salat al-Fajr until 2 p.m. and khalas. After that, it's over. Of course, our kids managed to get internet access from the neighbor. They talked to their friends who have internet, and they told them, could you tell us the secrets, the password, and they used that. So they are so mashallah smart, and that's why we have to always keep a track of them. Now, what is really more important than making control and making guidelines and making rules is actually to build the self-conscientiousness, or to build the taqwa in their hearts. That is the most important thing, and that is where I see that most of the Muslim parents are lacking and are struggling to have. Like, how can they work with their kids so that regardless of where they would be, regardless of whether there are people around them or not, that they will have this taqwa and fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with them all the time. Having fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing for someone who is 50 years old, let alone for someone who is still a teenager, right? But as I said at the beginning, that unfortunately when our kids are spending day and night, their days in the public school, learning about nothing reminds them of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then when they come back home, they are using their devices, they are watching TV, and their parents are so busy. The father comes back from work very tired, the mother is very busy with cooking, cleaning, putting things in order. And that is the cycle every single day. Where would the conscientiousness or the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would ever happen. No way. And when they come to the masjid, if they do come to the masjid, they are coming to see their friends, to play with them, only to see that the uncles are yelling on them, don't make this, don't scream, don't... So they don't like the masjid, they don't like the Quran classes, they're not really understanding from the shaykh what he's reciting or what he's saying. So there's nothing really that builds that taqwa or righteousness in their hearts. And frankly speaking, if it is a responsibility of anyone, it is the father and the mother. That's it. You just cannot rely on the masjid adding righteousness to your children. You cannot rely on the school to add righteousness to your kids. It is you. It is you as parents who should be always monitoring and watching this. And I say this with wallahi a broken heart that I feel regardless of what I do, I always feel the shortcoming, because subhanAllah, the amount of challenges that our children are facing require not only strong iman, it requires a mountain of iman in their hearts. How could we build that in our children's hearts when we ourselves don't have them? If you don't have it yourself, you just cannot convey it to others. And frankly, I mean, when you see what's going on with many of the Muslim families and issues that happen between Muslims all over, it's just a reflection that there's nothing here in the heart. It's just that people are using Islam with their superficial learning or teaching or learning from the religion, but in reality their hearts are not full of iman. They don't have that fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They don't have that much to worry about, and whenever Islam is in their favor, they would use it. Otherwise they would just try to escape it and find some way out that justifies what they're doing. Okay. So building that taqwa, righteousness in their hearts is the most important thing, much more important than adding guidelines or control or a parental control or any other mechanism. Because after all, unless you build that in their hearts, then they will be waiting for the minute when they can escape from their parents' control and they go and do all the haram thing. I remember when I was a child, well, I still remember this. My father used to send me to Hafdh school, just like how we have it here. I was in my 2nd grade, so how old I was? Maybe 7 years old. So I used to walk with my friend who lived just next to us to the masjid. It was a long walk. And then when I go to the masjid, there was an Egyptian old person who was teaching us Quran. I still remember the Ruba' Yasin copy, very old, yellow pages, has a nice smell. And we were competing who would memorize more. And in that day, in that school, which was afternoon school, there was a kid whose father, mashallah, was very practicing Muslim, long beard, and he used to bring his son, and mashallah, he was the only one kid in the whole madrasa who was using the full mushaf, not Ruba' Yasin only, the full mushaf. You know why? Because he memorized more than half of the Quran. So he already finished Ruba' Yasin. I still remember how much we were jealous that he, mashallah, was exceeding all of us, and he was our age. But the thing that I also remember was that how his father used to bring a long stick that was very tiny, and he used to hit his son to get into the class. And he would hit him in front of people. I still remember that throughout this semester that we from like almost every other day, you would see this child coming to the class crying because of his father. And then when we grew up, and then I became a man, and my neighbor became a man, this one child who was ahead of all of us and who memorized Quran, then unfortunately he lost every interest in Masajid and Quran. and he became, wa'alaikum billah, very deviant person. The amount of evilness that he had, wa'alaikum billah, exceeds any expectation. That was over 40 years ago. Well, 45 years. I'm 52 now, so I'm too old for to remember all the stories here. But I want to say that, subhanallah, building conscientiousness in their hearts, building God-fearing, building the love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, building the love to Prophet Muhammad, building the love to the religion, is the number one mechanism that we can use with our children to get them, inshallah, protected from what they are seeing nowadays. And I can tell you for sure that even if our children, la samhallah, have gone astray, that love to Allah and love to the Messenger and love to the religion will bring them back, inshallah. It might be some time. It may take them few years to realize how bad they are, but then eventually they would remember those very nice memories that they had with their parents and how they used to instill the love of Allah and His Messenger in their hearts, and that would be the reason for them, inshallah, to come back. Okay. A third technique or third practical thing is actually raising awareness. I mean, we need to keep our children aware of the consequences of what they're doing. Again, remember this: the right to be forgotten is not, even if they were to live in Europe, the right to be forgotten is limited within the scope of where they have uploaded their material, like their videos or their photos. But the right to be forgotten does not go above or beyond that one company who owns the technology through which the child has uploaded their item. So in other words, if there's another company that does archive to the internet, they are not obligated to delete that, especially if they are not within Europe. I mean, you here, you can create your own archiving mechanism. You just go, you know, there's something called the internet spider, or it just scroll all over the different websites that are there, and it just does automatic archiving. You can limit it to certain type of internet domains, whatever. I mean, you can do whatever you want. No one can tell you nothing. You can download anything on the internet. So if someone asks the right to be forgotten, does that mean that the court will go against you because you have downloaded a video that you saw on the internet at one day in time? No, of course not. So raising awareness to our kids that be careful. When you use the internet, not only that you are wasting your time in some of those, and not only that you are you are going away from your Lord, going away from your study, and that you are actually abusing your time, but on top of that, you may do things that would hurt you eventually. Like this guy I told you who posted his photo with as a girl. He regretted that big time because he was asking for marriage, and he went to a family where he was seeking the one girl for marriage, whose brother was aware of that photo, and they just actually excused themselves. They said, "You are not trustworthy." So they would actually hurt themselves in the future. Raising that awareness is very important, and repeating that, maybe using different angles, focusing on different negative impact that they may bring to themselves is very helpful, inshallah. Now, I was talking to the brother here, Brother Adnan, I think, right? Adnan. So we were talking about what else can we do to our kids to even take them away from this, the social media, internet, and Gen AI and whatnot. And that is actually create for them a society, or create for them an environment where they can, inshallah, use their energy in a very constructive way. One of the things I truly love here in this masjid is the Scouts program. The Scouts program is, in today's time, is very crucial. It doesn't need to be a scout, but something similar to Scout, where you take the kids, you make them feel, live their life in a social life, a real social life with others. Get them to do something that is very interesting, something very beneficial to humanity. Today we had a breakfast after Salat al-Fajr, and one of the brothers, Jazallah Khair, has brought his brownie. He said, I cook it myself. I said, MashaAllah, it tastes very well. How did you learn this? He said, because I go to Scout and they put me to cook for them. So I learned how to do brownies. And I said, okay, so Scout is not only for little child, it's also for you. And he said, oh, absolutely. So everyone would learn. And of course, when you teach the kids to explore and go into their adventure, to learn how they can tell where the north is and learn from the stars. I mean, there are deal with animals, deal with the green areas, and protecting or cleaning the neighborhood. All those different things are so important these days in order to create a real life for our children. Another thing is actually, this is the time when we have to emphasize on family relationship. I do believe, and I can at least talk about myself, that my relationship with my children has been the worst in the recent last 5 years. And why is that? Is because I got so busy and they got their own personal life on the internet. So yes, not to say that they are doing haram, inshallah, none of that, but what I'm saying is that everyone got so busy to the extent that I'm no more dealing with my kids the way I really like it to be. Like the love between a father and a son, or a father and a daughter, should go very, very high, to the level that the children are always happy to see their father in front of them. I still remember one of the brothers came to me and he was crying, and I said, what happened? He said, I had to travel for work for a couple of months, and not a single child has picked up the phone to call me and ask how about me. Wallahi, it brings tears to my eyes, and I see it in many families. It's why? I mean, it could be a shortcoming from both sides, from the parents and from the children, because they have not established those strong relationships within the family. And this internet, the social media, is just acting on the wrong direction for our children. So engaging our children in real life activities like Scouts and similar things, engaging them with family members, having family reunion events. Like, how many of us have families in the US that they haven't seen for a long time? I mean, there need to be at least once, if not more, every year, that you as an extended family decide to come together to one place and do family reunion. Let your children know who their cousins are. Let your children know that they have something called Silat al-Rahim. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, irhamkallah, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said that on the day of judgment, when people are walking on the bridge is what goes between the beginning of Jahannam until the end of it. And everyone has to walk on top of that bridge, even the prophets. So the hadith says that while people are walking on this bridge, and of course the hypocrites, the kuffar will be thrown in the fire, and those who were sinners will be thrown in the fire. But while everyone is walking, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring ar-rahim. Ar-rahim means the kith and kin. And make it as if it is a speaking person. And that rahim would say, Allahumma sil man wasalani waqta' man qata'ani. Oh Allah, connect with the one who used to connect with me, and disconnect with those who used to disconnect with me. So, do our children understand what Salat al-Rahim is? Do they have the courage to pick up the phone and call their parents of when they go on travel, let alone their grandfathers or grandmothers or their aunts or their uncles or whatnot? I regret to say that unfortunately I haven't seen that for a long time, except maybe for a very, very, very few examples that I have seen in my life. Okay. Now, another very important thing is to always have open communication with children. That is like transparency in discussion. One of the things that I feel many practicing Muslim families are lacking is to understand that if they do not open up with their children, then their children will find someone else to open up with. And I want to be very clear. Like, how many of us, when their children are almost close to the bulugh, puberty, how many of us really spend the time to talk to our kids about masturbation, about what happens between all the sexual activities, just like having something very clear? How many of us do this? I tell you from practice, most of the Muslim family do not do this. You know why? They say this is shameful. We don't like to talk about this. But you know what's going on? Your children are learning from their non-Muslim friends about this. So who do you think is better? To handle it yourself in the right way, in the Islamic way, or to let your children learn it the wrong way? And the sad news is that I even tried it with my own relatives. I told one time one of my cousins, I said, Habibi, did you ever talk to your children about masturbation? He said, Ya Sheikh, what are you talking about? We should not talk to them about this. And then the reason I asked him about this is because one of his children came to me and he was like, Sheikh, how could I stop this masturbation thing? So if the father thought that his son is, mashallah, so pure, and he never even talked to him about it. And this is one of the minimum sins now that people are doing, our children, unfortunately. And unfortunately, I mean, the fathers or the mothers are still live too far from their children's challenges, and they just don't know what's going on. And unfortunately, they make wrong, false assumptions to the extent that they actually are pushing their kids for failure. Okay, so open communication. Next one is monitoring on mental health. Mental health, by the way, is very crucial to be monitored from an early age. I know in the past we didn't really do this, but now it seems that, subhanallah, there are so many new diseases, so many new behaviors that we haven't even thought about that they would exist. I don't know if it has something to do with nutrition, something to do with maybe the environment, the toxic environment that we live at, maybe because of technology. I don't know what, maybe all of these and more. But what we are seeing is an increased number of ADHD, depression, anxiety, OCD, all those different names that I can barely even remember their acronym, let alone their full names. I know about these just because people come and ask me. And I found out that those are becoming so common that unfortunately, because they are not being diagnosed from an early age, the kids are going through a very destroying time with their parents and within themselves, to the extent that they reach a certain age at which they cannot go back. It's one way, khalas. They lose it. I mean, I gave you two examples that I have seen very clearly. OCD where, I mean, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a therapist, I have nothing to do with this, but at least I'm hearing from the psychiatrist and from the therapist about some of the patterns that OCD have. And of course, when I get someone to ask for help, and they ask about therapy and whatnot, I tell them this is not my specialty, so I try to forward them to the right people. But one of the things I have seen as a common pattern is when people have no trust in anyone. Like because the kids have been living their isolated life because of all the social media and whatnot, they have no more trust in anyone else, because they realize that they themselves were hiding their private matters. They have been hiding their issues and their shortcomings, and they knew for a fact that everyone else is doing the same. So there's no trust. And then, of course, if they have OCD, that even makes it worse, because now they become always suspicious of others, even those people who come to the masjid. Similarly, those who have depression, I mean, regardless of what you tell them, they are always sad, they are always mad, they always see things in a very negative way. Unfortunately, social media is even making them way worse. You know why? Because what do you post in your social media? What do you post in Facebook? Don't you post or Instagram? You post the images or the photos that you have taken at a very nice moment of your life, right? You go to Bahama, you take a selfie and you post it on your Instagram. So what happens to your friend who at that point in time, when you posted your Instagram photo, was under a divorce? What happens? What happens to them? They are gone. I mean, you're taking. And by the way, I'm sorry to say this. I know many people may not like it, but we have to understand that al-ayn haq. You know what al-ayn haq means? Evil eye is true. Is true. I have seen it with many practicing Muslim friends. They go, for that example, to the Alp Mountains, or they go to Bahama, or they go to, what is it called, the islands in Hawaii. And, the wife is hijabi, the man is, mashallah, practicing Muslim, but they put their hands like this and take selfie and they post it in the social media. And I'm someone, for example, watching this, and because he's my friend, so I see his photo, and it just happened in the very day that I have divorced my wife. I'm saying someone else. Alhamdulillah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us all. What happens? I mean, it just takes you to the extreme of depression, the extreme of sadness, the extreme of comparing yourself to others. And those are very, very important things to always remember. That's why I would say that you have to watch your children on how their behavior is changing. Make sure, one of the things that what we try to do is to have this regular health check, right? They do some blood tests, some urine tests, and all that stuff. We need to also think about the mental health. That's very crucial these days. And the social media and the internet is making this very bad these days. And this is in addition to all the other environment impact on us. I think, well, there are three more, but we're limited with time. So let me just finish with one thing, inshallah. there's something called digital literacy. We need to make sure that our children know how to use the technology also in a positive way. Like for example, instead of using their, let's say Facebook or Instagram, Facebook is for elders. I think Instagram is for our youth. So instead of using their Instagram to just post things about which restaurant they went to, where they have met with their friends and whatnot, how about if they do something very beneficial? Like for example, going with an organization that spread food for the needy, and take the photos there and make that to encourage their peers to do the same. I mean, those things can be actually of a special interest to our youth to show. Maybe it starts with like the willingness to show off, but we can always, inshallah, try to shape it in a way that only do that to encourage others, but not really to show off from yourself. And when they do this, then they will change their usage of the technology from something that is just entertainment into something that is really beneficial. And the technology can help a lot in that. So when I first started, I said I will focus on the negative points. I think we need to have another session about how we can use technology on the very positive things. And I would say that it is not limited even in anything. You can use your imagination to convert this very technology into a very positive thing that you can use in this society, and make your children the leaders, inshallah, on how to use it for the prosperity of the society we live at, inshallah. So let me stop here, and maybe if you have any last questions or comments, inshallah, we'll go for them. I want to start with the sisters. If you have any, inshallah, anything, sisters, any question or comment? Yes, go ahead. Yeah, I think you're saying that in today's time there is an emphasis on happiness, right? And fun. That's the word they use, fun. You must have fun. Life is all about fun. Well, I think one of the ways, I'm not prepared to answer this question, but I would like to help with one point that I have in mind, is how can we have fun in our ibadah? I think that could be a reason. So, for example, I may start with how Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to say to Bilal, his mu'adhin, "Arihna bis-salat ya Bilal." Bring us comfort with by calling for the prayer, O Bilal. So for them, the fun happened while they were doing ibadah. I think one of the things we need to work with our children is, and this could happen through discussion, could happen through some practical things that you do with them, is how can we convert every ibadah that they do into something that they love, and to something that they find comfort doing. They have fun in it. So for example, connecting with kith and kin, Silat al-Rahim, could be very fun, because you send them, for example, to the grandfather or the grandmother, or to the uncle or to the aunt or to the cousin, and then you make them enjoy their time there. On one side it was fun, and on the other side it was Silat al-Rahim. Similarly, Quran. I mean, sometimes, alhamdulillah, there are many creative ideas on how they can learn the Quran, learn the meaning of Quran, And then, for example, have some special contest where they think about, for example, how to apply this ayah in their own life, or how they can link the words into something that they see. Like, for example, I still remember one of the most exciting contests that I have participated with on Quran was, tell me the names of all the animals and insects that were reported in Quran. This was a Ramadan contest. And I had to read through all, at that time we didn't have internet, so I had to go through all the Quran in the whole Ramadan to see where is, for example, Naml, Nahl, Baqarah, and all that stuff. So it was very fun, but what happened really is that I had to read the Quran with focus. So there are many ways, inshallah, that we can convert this act of worship from just being a boring thing to them into becoming something more of fun, inshallah. Now, if you want to think about how we can convince them that not everything is fun, I think this is a lost battle. So don't try it, because they will hear from everyone else that life should be fun. So then I think the workaround is, how can we make our ibadah feel like fun to us, inshallah, but in a way that it still pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let me think more about this, because I think this is a great question to even have a more of an in-depth answer, inshallah, and hopefully we can address it at another point in time. Yes, Habib.
If I look, great points, Jazakallah khair. I got about 9 or 10 points. I don't know whether those are the same points that you mentioned, or the things that should help us bring more coherent or more productive use of kids' digital life. If I look at all of them, Sheikh, I can divide them into two major categories. One is a proactive approach, and the other one is a defensive approach. I believe most of the points that we discussed are the defensive approach. Monitor their time, monitor their devices, screens be open, keep monitoring the parental softwares because they may have been compromised
Sure.
last month, all that. The one proactive approach is where I'm interested in. This is teaching a man how to fish rather than keep
Sure.
the fish on
Sure.
the hook. And that was shared that you mentioned, the gem in between is to help them achieve taqwa.
Yes.
They can self-regulate themselves.
Sure.
Sheikh, this is the holy grail of it all. How do we achieve that? And when I look at it in my own sphere, I cannot recall how many number of times that I have thought about it, as well as given the advice to other people, whoever has taught whatever words of with me. The example of Nuh alayhi salam, where Nuh alayhi salam, don't we all think that he would have given the best environment to his kids
To his son.
to his son?
Yeah.
And his son
Went astray.
left
Yeah.
Islam.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So we have people who are, leave alone the normal people who want their kids to be normal, but the people who go to the masjid, the khatibs, the huffaz, whose kids are nowhere close to Islam. How do we give them, as well as just the Ummah of Islam, the kids of the Ummah of Islam, this self-regulating taqwa, that even if no parent, no elder is watching, Allah is watching. Alam ya'lam anna Allah yara.
Yeah. Allah Yajzak al-Khair. I think building taqwa in the hearts of our children should start even before they are born, because the person has the father and the mother, both of them should have started building taqwa in themselves before marriage. And that's why Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has said, "Tunkahul mar'u li'arba," that the woman would be married or would be sought for marriage for 4 reasons, and one of them was her religion, right? And then he Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "Seek the one with religion, because that's where you will get, inshallah, a better outcome." So, and when the relationship between the couple starts with taqwa in their marriage, then every single day would be a reflection on that in their own life. Like, for example, the father will seek only halal income, the mother will be always honest and truthful, The way they spend their time at home, not wasting their time, not watching haram, not engaging in haram. The prayer that happens during the night, every single day. Those kids will grow up to see this, and that's what builds taqwa in their heart. Because they will see taqwa being implemented in action. Taqwa cannot happen with the speeches. It cannot happen with lessons. It cannot happen with lecturing. I mean, most of the time people are trying to resolve this through lectures, khutbahs and whatnot. Maybe they might be helpful to start something, but unless they are translated into action, there's no way. So I hope, inshallah, one of the things that we are looking at here is how can we make an environment for our kids so that at least they can see taqwa in action. So I give you one example, but there are many. Let's say that you decided to volunteer 2 days of your year to take some group of youth to stay over somewhere, do fishing, go hunting, go on the mountains, camping, whatever. And you make sure that it is not about lecturing, it's not about any of this, it's about how I can live a whole day the way that He ﷺ lived it. And those kids are monitoring you and watching you and are very happy with you because you're giving them both sides. So during the night, you wake up for qiyam and they wake up with you. During the day, you are playing with them. When you are eating, you're preparing them, you're showing them the etiquette of eating, but at the same time, you're reminding them with the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're watching, the green side of in front of you, or maybe the ocean or whatever, and then you're talking about the majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through His creation. When you do this on a regular basis, and they have that fun, but they have truly lived at least 2 days in their entire year in a way that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in a way that truly reflects how He ﷺ used to live His life, that's how you start to build taqwa on kids who probably did not get the chance to take it from their early age through their parents. And that's where we see that MasjidAlSalam or other masajid can help in adding to the tarbiyah to the kids, where we can inshallah instill the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, love of His messenger and love of the religion to them, in taking them off this environment where it is like, okay, alhamdulillah, I prayed in the first row and the sheikh, the imam was reciting the surah. Because many of the parents are, when they check on their children, did they get a good salah or not, they ask them, okay, do you remember what the sheikh has recited in the first rak'ah? And subhanAllah, it becomes more of like, going back and forth with those things, and nothing really builds in their hearts. So what I'm saying is that there are plenty of different ideas that could be varying from place to another, but we should not give up the opportunities, inshallah, at which we can instill this taqwa in their hearts, inshallah, in any way that we can imagine. Allah yazikum khair. So let's stop here, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.